My best friend Simon stole my wife. I caught them sitting on his lap in his Mustang after work.
I'm Anthony.
Tony to most, 34 years old, a warehouse supervisor with calloused hands and a bad habit of cracking my knuckles when I'm nervous. I've been married to Jessica for 7 years, dated her for 3 before that. She's 32, blonde hair she keeps in a messy bun most days, blue eyes that crinkle when she smiles, and this laugh, God, this loud, wild laugh that used to make me feel like the luckiest guy alive. We've got a little apartment downtown, 3rd floor, view of the river if you squint past the power lines. No kids, just a fat tabby cat named Momo who sheds everywhere. Life wasn't perfect, but it was ours.
I thought it was enough. Simon's been my best friend since high school.
He's 35, wiry, with a mop of dark hair and a grin that's gotten him out of more trouble than it should. We met in detention, me for skipping class, him for mouthing off to a teacher, and bonded over sneaking beers behind the bleachers. He's a mechanic now, runs his own shop, always smells faintly of motor oil and cigarettes. We'd hang out every Friday, beers at his place or mine, talking shit about work, sports, whatever.
Jessica liked him too, said he was funny, in a scruffy kind of way.
I trusted him with my life. Hell, I trusted him with her.
Olencia's Jessica's friend from her yoga class.
Mid-20s, artsy-type big hoop earrings, tattoos snaking up her arms, always smells like patchouli. She's loud, opinionated, the kind of person who fills a room. I didn't know her well, just saw her at barbecues or when she'd swing by to drag Jessica to some gallery opening. She'd tease me about my boring warehouse life, and I'd laugh it off.
Harmless, I thought. Never figured she'd be the one to crack my world open.
It started 3 weeks ago, early February, cold as hell outside. I was grabbing coffee at this little spot near the warehouse, black, 2 sugars, same as always, when I ran into Olencia. She was in line ahead of me, juggling a sketchbook and a phone, muttering about a deadline. I said hey, made some small talk about the weather, and she grinned, all teeth, and asked how Jessica was.
Good, I said. Busy with work, you know.
She nodded, then got this weird look, eyes darting away, lips twitching like she was chewing on something she didn't want to spit out. You ever, notice anything off with her lately? She asked, casual but not casual. My gut pinged, but I shrugged it off.
Nah, she's Jess. Same as ever. Olencia hesitated, then leaned in, voice low. Look, Tony, I wasn't gonna say anything, but I saw her with Simon last week.
Like, with him. At his shop, after hours. They didn't see me, but it wasn't just friendly.
She pulled back, watching me, waiting. I froze, coffee cup burning my hand. What do you mean, with him? My voice came out rougher than I meant.
She sighed, fiddling with her earrings. I mean kissing, Tony. In his car, parked out back. I didn't want to believe it either, but I know what I saw. My head buzzed, like static on a busted radio. I laughed, short, sharp, fake as hell.
You're wrong. Simon's my guy.
Jess wouldn't, but Olencia just shook her head, pity in her eyes.
Check for yourself, man. I'm sorry. I didn't thank her. I didn't say anything.
Just paid for my coffee and walked out, steam curling off the lid, my breath fogging in the cold.
Simon and Jessica? No way.
She'd been normal, home every night, still curling up with me on the couch, still nagging me to fix the leaky sink. Simon hadn't acted weird either, same old dumb jokes, same old you're whipped, Tony ribbing.
But Olencia's words stuck, burrowing deep, gnawing at me. I had to know. That night, Jessica said she was meeting a coworker for drinks, some project deadline thing.
Don't wait up, she called, slipping on her black boots, that red coat I got her 2 Christmases ago flapping as she grabbed her keys. She looked good at jeans, a sweater, hair loose for once. Kissed me quick on the lips, tasting like peppermint chapstick, and left. I sat there, Momo purring on my lap, TV droning some cop show, but my mind was racing. Simon's shop was 10 minutes from our place. If Olencia was right. I grabbed my coat and old Carhartt, fraying at the cuffs, told myself I was just taking a drive to clear my head. The streets were slick with half-melted snow, streetlights smearing yellow across the wet asphalt. I didn't call Simon, didn't text Jessica. Just drove, heart thumping, palms sweaty on the wheel. His shop's on the edge of town, a squat brick building with a neon Simon's Auto sign flickering out front. It was past 9 p.m., closed for hours, but his beat-up Mustang was in the lot, parked crooked by the back door. And next to it, Jessica's Civic, headlights off, engine still ticking like it had just pulled in. My stomach dropped. I cut my lights, eased my truck into a spot across the street, half hidden by a dumpster. Maybe she'd had car trouble, I told myself. Maybe Simon was just helping. But then I saw them, shadows moving in the Mustang's front seat, windows fogged up, the car rocking just enough to notice. My throat tightened. I killed the engine, slid out, boots crunching on gravel as I crept closer, sticking to the shadows. The air smelled like gasoline and wet metal, sharp in my lungs. I got within 20 feet, close enough to hear muffled voices, a laugh, hers, that wild laugh I loved. The passenger window was cracked an inch, and I could see her blonde hair, tangled, spilling over the headrest. Simon's hand was in it, pulling her closer. Then she shifted, straddling him, her red coat bunched up around her waist, his hand sliding under her sweater. They didn't see me. Didn't hear me. Just kept going, her head tipping back, his low groan cutting through the quiet. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. My best friend and my wife, in a shitty Mustang, like some cheap movie I'd laugh at if it wasn't my life. I wanted to smash the window, drag him out, scream at her. But my legs wouldn't budge. I just stood there, a ghost in my own story, watching her moan his name, watching him grin like he'd won something. My keys dug into my palm, metal biting skin, but I didn't feel it. Not really. Headlights swept the lot, some late-night delivery truck, and they froze. Jessica ducked, swearing, scrambling back to her seat. Simon fumbled with his jeans, muttering, shit, like a kid caught stealing. I ducked behind a stack of tires, heart slamming against my ribs. They didn't spot me. She climbed out, smoothing her hair, tugging her coat tight like nothing happened. See you tomorrow, she said, voice shaky but light, like it was a goddamn date. He smirked, lit a cigarette, said, yeah, babe. She got in her car and peeled out. He followed a minute later, taillights fading into the dark. I stayed there, crouched by those tires, cold seeping through my jeans, until my knees ached. The lot was empty, just me and the hum of the neon sign. I drove home slow, replaying it, her laugh, his hands, the fogged-up glass. When I got in, Momo meowed, rubbing my legs, but I just sat on the couch, staring at nothing. Jessica came home an hour later, smelling like beer and something muskier, his cologne, probably. Hey, babe, she said, kicking off her boots. How was your night? I looked at her, those crinkling blue eyes, and said, fine. Yours? She smiled. Same old, same old. She slept next to me that night, breathing soft, while I stared at the ceiling, fists clenched under the sheets. Next day, I didn't confront her. Didn't call Simon. Just went to work, moved boxes, punched out, like a robot. It's been 2 weeks now. They don't know I know. Olencia texts sometimes, asking if I'm okay. I don't answer. Jessica still kisses me goodbye. Simon still invites me for beers. And me? I'm here, replaying that night, every detail, the red coat, the Mustang's creak, the way her voice cracked when she said his name. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. Confront them? Walk away? Burn it all down? All I know is I'm not the same Anthony I was 3 weeks ago. That guy's gone,